All right, everyone. I'm Eric Troskler with Eye on the Tigers, and with me today is national champion, Super Bowl champion, number 99, Marlon Big Fave Favorite. Big Fave, hello, somebody. What's going on, man?
Hello, somebody. Man, E, thank you so much for having me on the show, bro.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you coming on with us. So, Big Fave, man, let's talk about the Tigers so far this season. Some positives, some negatives. I feel like we've seen quite a bit of both, I feel like the defense has improved from last season. They're still giving up a little bit of chunk plays here and there, but I feel like it's not as bad as it was. The offense, I feel, has taken a small step back, which, of course, if you lose a Heisman Trophy winner, that's going to happen. But I feel like Nussmeier's doing his thing. So kind of talk to us about things you've seen so far, the positives and the negatives so far with this team.
Well, I like to start with the positives because you always want to start off on a good foot. Hello, somebody. Uh, the positives are, from here to where we started at the beginning of the season with USC, Gary Nussmeier isn't making any big mistakes. So it is a huge difference going from Jaden Daniels to Gary Nussmeier, but even like the quarterbacks he went against, whether it was Sellers or Miller for USC, those guys kind of was in that same deal, pro style. Now, if I would be super critical of Garrett, I would, and I don't know if this has something to do with him or it's by design with coaching, but I would tell him I would recommend he take off running sometime. You don't have to run a 4-4-4-3 like Jaden runs, but sometimes those 3 or 4 yards are useful. But outside of that, it's fine. To stay on the offensive side of the ball, to stay with the positives. At least last week we've seen an RB1, and that's something that we were looking for at LSU and Durham. But you still want to be able to have running back by committee. LSU has been successful with that. In my time frame, it was Justin Vincent and then Joseph Adai, Ali Broussard, Chiron Kerry. We had a decent rotation of running backs, and then to my later years at LSU, we had Hester, Charles Scott. We also had Keelan Williams. We had Richard Murphy. So we had other running backs touching the ball. So I think that is important for LSU as well, offensively. And then of course the weapons, the tight ends, and the receivers. Now on a positive tip for the defensive side of the ball, I think that we've figured out how to utilize Harold Perkins. And that was a last week thing. This is something we learned to the lateral part of and even throughout the duration of the South Carolina game, having him at that start, being creative with him and Major Burns, being able to apply pressure up front. We still have some things to fix, particularly in the exterior run and the run defense. We'll get into that in some of the negatives. And you still see you have some young talent in the secondary. So I think that's good. So those are the positives.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, you kind of hit the nail on the head. It's the way I think about it with Harold. When you let 7 blitz, good things happen. You let him go, I feel like good things happen. Good things come from that. And hopefully that's something we start to see more of this season. So,
no doubt.
Sticking on the defensive side of the ball, man, kind of touched on it on the back end. So 2 guys I feel like have stepped up big time. Ashton Stamps, man, I feel like is always in a good position. I feel like he stepped up in a major way this season. In my opinion, it seems like he's always in the right position. It's like textbook. He always got his one hand on the hip, one hand reaching out. He's always there. He's always making a play. He's always around the ball. And another guy I feel like helped this defensive backfield tremendously coming back was Zai Alexander. It's good to see him coming off that injury, man. He made that big pick last weekend. That's 2 guys I feel like could really take this DB room, this cornerback room, and kind of hold it down, as much as possible. So anybody else you saw in that defensive back field that stood out to you?
I think eventually PJ Willen will start to continue to mature and be an asset, whether it's at nickel or, rotating in at one of the blitzing corners. But uh, I was blessed and fortunate enough to see Ashton Stamps since a little kid. He's ran through our program with Conquer Sports. Me and Scholar, when he was playing receiver, we used to call him midget because he was actually short. And then Romo thought it was a great idea to move him to DB, and that's when we had to get him with our bro Robbie Green. And I thought all that technical stuff you see with the hand on the hip, being in the right place at the right time, that's that's summers and springs, Robbie, Justin, Jordan, and of course Ashton over there at DTP, getting that working with like Justin Jefferson, like top 3 receiver in the league. Like he's did real drills with as we call him midget. But I think Ashton Stamps here in year 2, he's healthy. He played last year. A lot of people don't know he played a bit injured, and Coach Corey Raymond loves him, so he's being able to expand his knowledge as a cornerback. And I would say the same thing goes for Zy Alexander. So that position is good. I just think for defense, filling that void, and this, I guess, ties into some of the negative, but not intentional negative, being able to figure out how to fill that void in with Jacoby and Guillory being out in the middle. Even when he was there, just schematically trying to figure it out in regards to, because you look at the big runs that Nicholls State had in the middle last week 4 last, and then even last week, one time with Weech, and he's done an excellent job at the linebacker position. That's a guy I would say outside of the 2 guys you mentioned has been consistently good at the linebacker position. But that one play, right?
Mm-hmm.
He jumps out of his gap, lose contain, and they bust it for 60 some odd yards. So I just think that we fix those things defensively, we'll be all right.
Yeah, absolutely, man. The Weeks brothers, man, I always feel like they're some ball hawks. It seems like they're always around. They always around the ball. Always around the play. But yeah, man, it's just little bitty things like that can make such a huge difference. Like you said, I'd watch back that Colin Guggenheim run, and he had cut the one way, and when he cut back, you could see the backer just kind of all it took was just that few yards, it just kind of bit, but that'll come with time, like you spoke about. So, man, on the edge, 2 guys I thought stood out last week. One really came onto the scene, in my opinion. He kind of made himself known. Braden Swinson. He did some good things also in the passing game too. Dropping back into coverage. He lost contain once or twice, but like I said, that'll come with time. But he had big time sacks, big time plays. In my opinion, that was the MVP of the defense last weekend. And then also one of my favorite guys since he came out of St. James, Sevion Jones, man. He feel like he's putting together an excellent season. Both guys are top 10 in the country in sacks. What's your opinion on the edge position right now at LSU?
Man, I really have to give Coach Peoples his props. I've known him for some years, even when he was at Tulane, and being able to continue to develop his craft as a coach in terms of defensive ends and guys across the line. You see the difference in Savion and as you mentioned, I'm sorry, I lost number 4.
Braden Swinson.
Swinson. Sorry, Swinson. Lost my train of thought. Braden Swinson. Those two guys have really emerged in this new defensive line setup. Swinson pressures, being active, not losing contain every play. Like it was a couple of times he was able to set the edge, even forcing the ball back inside to where your help is. He's done it all over. If you look back to last week, the plays he made, you look at the sacks, the tackles, being able to drop in the coverage. He was all over the field, and that's really, we need other sparks on the defense. I even think the way we utilize Harold Perkins, like in sending Major Burns. So it's like everybody's focused on Harold Perkins blitzing. We see him, Perkins coming, let's slide, and then we get the sack backside with Burns. So I think for Coach Baker, if he continues to be creative like that, he'll be fine. But I like the way the edge is shaping up. We just still and an excellent coach too as well. And Coach Bo Davis was blessed with the opportunity. He coached us. Was a grad assistant, defensive line assistant coach back when we played back with Coach Carl Dunbar, and when Coach Miles first got there, and when Coach Saban was there. And Bo was notorious for helping us develop our technique, playing with strength, and being able to be explosive. So, I think as these young defensive linemen develop, we'll see more action of that. But I think as the season, especially these next 2 weeks, Eric, next 2 weeks, and then, of course, the third week, the bye week on the Ole Miss, will tell the tale of the Tiger.
Absolutely, man. I think you hit the nail on the head. These next 2 weeks, I feel like it's a good, excellent opportunity to get this team's confidence back up, as well as the fans' confidence back up. And like you said, hopefully get healthy in that bye week, and never know what could happen with Ole Miss and LSU. So, man, hop into the offensive side of the ball. Let's talk about some pass catchers, man. Somebody I enjoy to watch play. He's from Lafourche Parish. I feel like he plays with a lot of passion. Kyron Lacey. I would like to see a little bit more of him involved, getting like how they used to do with DJ Chark, kind of those end rounds, a reverse, kind of make a few more opportunities for him, get the ball in his hands a little bit more. But I think he's having an excellent season. He's second in the country right now, with tied with Travis Hunter as far as touchdown receptions go. But I feel like he's having a good season. And another guy that stepped up in a big way, I feel like he's always open, always there when you need a big catch. Aaron Anderson, man, is really stepping up so far this season. And then also, I believe that was one of your old teammates, Richard Dixon, that Mason Taylor passed up for the most catches by tight end in LSU history, So that's in good company right there. And Mason, of course, is, the ultimate safety valve, And then not to mention those two young men behind him, Trey'Dez Green and Kamorian Pimpton. But yeah, man, I feel like this wide receiver room and, just pass catchers in general, man, have really stepped up this season and kind of filled the void of those two first round draft picks that left last season. So what's your opinion on the pass catchers right now?
Oh, they're doing an excellent job. And you highlight Aaron Anderson. He's a West Banker, a guy from down here in New Orleans. So I've had the pleasure to watch him play for Edna Carr and, scored 3-4 touchdowns in one game, some of it in special teams. I just look at this receiving core as a whole as an explosive receiving core, and coaches really trying to get the ball. Like if you look at Nussmeier's completions, it tells the tale of his receiving core. But you have three athletic tight ends. All three are going to see the ball. That's very rare in a collegiate offense where you have three capable tight ends. You look at the play in Kyron Lacey, and I understand why we didn't see him much last week, because they were either blanketing over him or doing some type of – they made sure that's why I think the play scored on was a quick slant. Like he just beat his guy off the ball and made a play. So that could be expected, but now they're going to have to even it out, because the tail of the tape now, well, what about number one? Oh, what about zero? So, oh, man, 88. Oh, what about this? So it has the potential to have the electricity that we see in the Saints' offense last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
If these guys continue to be creative offensively. And a lot of it's going to be in the run game. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think that finding this running game, that kind of brings me into my next point, like you were saying. Finding this run game right now, it's a perfect time. But, man, I was going to comment on that video that you made last week, and you had talked about it a little while ago. But, you could start off, like you said, Chiron Carey, Joe Adai, Ali Broussard, Justin Vincent. My first favorite LSU player was LeBrandon Tofield, Then, of course, you had Spencer Ware, Michael Ford, always had guys bouncing off of one another in these backfields, and also you had somebody that would step up in the running back room in a big way. And I feel like last week, we saw that with Caden Durham. He saw his opportunity and he took it and ran with it. And it was fun to see, man. He looked like, I'm not comparing him, but he looked like 2019 Clyde Edwards-Helaire with some of those runs, bouncing off of people, taking those kind of spin moves. It was fun to watch, man. So I'm hoping to see a little bit more of him this weekend and, for the future. So what's your opinion on this, on Caden Durham going forward?
I think he's your clear running back number one. I think he's the guy that needs to touch the ball the most. He's shown me in those few drives his capability of yards after contact, being able to have that low center of gravity so guys don't really get low, so he ends up trucking them for extra yards. That's more yak. I would like to see him catch out of the backfield, but I think the package with him involved need to be used and continue to use more. Now, it's third down, and I like it. You want to have your guys rotating. Because that keeps fresh legs at the running back position, and then it keeps guys evenly distributed, which is fine. Josh Williams, if it's 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, go ahead and give him the ball because he's going to do that power run. Jawan Johnson, get him involved. Him catching the ball with space with the ball in his hands a problem. You have Jackson. He could kind of fall into that Williams. Just mix it up on him. That I think. And I'm not taking away from it. Joe went first round. Allie don't get hurt. He's a first, second round running back. Sharon was a little undersized, but if the leagues were the way they were now, he'd have definitely got some opportunities. So, Justin played with the Steelers. I mean, these guys were able to go to the next level, but they all rotated, shared reps. So, Richard Murphy went to the league. I think you mentioned Michael Ford. He's another one. Had it spin in the league. What about Alpha Blue?
Yeah.
He's a running back, right? He was a starter in our league. Wasn't a starter at LSU. So I think if, those guys will buy into the concept of, share, because you want to win. When everybody's winning, the eyes are on you. So that's important too.
Absolutely, man. That's a big thing. That buy-in. If they buy what they're putting out there, let's have the battle right there. So, man, let's get on to UCLA. It's a team that's in a transition period, in my opinion. You got a first-year head coach, first-year defensive coordinator, and a first-year offensive coordinator. They're just kind of struggling to find an identity at this point. In my opinion, this is a perfect opportunity for LSU to come out and really make a statement, and gain some confidence. So what's your opinion on UCLA and the Tigers' opportunity this weekend?
The opportunity is large, and I think if we go out there and we handle business earlier in the game and really run the score up, because this is a UCLA team. This isn't the one that beat us a few years back.
So, yeah, man, like you were saying, this isn't the UCLA team that beat us, with Zach Charbonnet and those other guys on that talented offense. This is a team, where you really got to stand up, like you say, in the trenches. We got to see improvement there, and I feel it's a big opportunity. It's a big opportunity on both sides of the ball for these guys just to stand up and show what they're made of, So speaking of in the trenches, man, let's talk about this LSU offensive line, man. I feel like it's kind of starting to come around a little bit. What's your opinion on this LSU offensive line, where it stands at?
I think that LSU's offensive line has been accustomed to what Jaden Daniels was able to do as a runner quarterback last year, the last 2 years. And a lot of his success, what he was able to do and accomplish in that 2 years at LSU really boosted this offensive line. The offensive line is what it is in regards of pass pro. they're one of the best in the country. They're going to protect the quarterback. Hence the reason you still see production from Kyron Lacy, Aaron Anderson. I think Coach Salone and Coach Davis and Coach Cartaz is doing an excellent job at just being creative in the run game. As I mentioned, the whole thing with Caden Dunham. But as far as straight hard nosed, hands in the dirt, run blocking, the verdict's still out on this offensive line. Now look, I like to hear people say stuff like that about me when I was a player, because now I get to go show them, it's legit not a game. I'm going to pulverize this offense. This offensive lineman over me. And I think the LSU's really offense and defensive line really need to take over. That first half of the game was like, man, this team looks soft. They look soft. And it wasn't no knock against them, and I don't think they don't have an opportunity to not look soft, but it's just they look soft. Sanders was able to run how he wanted to run on our front line and secondary. So did Guggenheim, right there from Nickel State, John Curtis kid, same thing. You look at the USC game, a lot of that same stuff was happening. So this offensive line, especially with this evolving running back field, like hands in the dirt, punch him in the mouth. That's what we're missing on the offensive line. Again, Will Campbell, he's going to be the first round offensive line draft pick that we had at LSU probably in the last 30 years. The tape is out. All the scouts are going to do is cut on the tape from the last 2 years and watch this kid block Will Anderson when we play Alabama, and watch him block all these guys that shine in the NFL right now. Pass pro, Jaden Daniels, shoo. It's different. Now you got Nussmeier, and Nuss not even thinking about running. About 7 opportunities, Nuss had to run that ball. Nuss ain't run that ball. That's what you're doing, baby. Let's get them. Let's not have it 3rd and 10 still. Let's have it like, I'll take 3rd and 4. Nuss, at this point, I'll take 3rd and 6. Just go get us something. Let's shorten the sticks. So I am interested in seeing how aggressive we're going to block. Are we going to play downside competition? Or are we going to give Ole Miss the next couple of weeks and be like, we can't come down that BS, and boy, LSU looking like LSU right now. So that's going to be important.
Absolutely, man. I agree. You hit the nail on the head, really. From what I saw last week, I'm not going to lie to you, I was watching the game with some family, and I turned around, I looked at them, I said, this isn't the LSU that we're used to. This ain't it. But, I feel like in the second half, they did step it up a little bit. So the verdict's still out, man. So, yeah, hopefully these next couple of weeks we can give Ole Miss something to think about, like you said. So, man, you briefly touched on it. So tell everybody what you're up to, man. Tell them where they can find you on social media. Tell them about Conquer Sports. Let's hear about that.
Well, man, they can check me out on X, Instagram, wherever you do your social media, at BigFave504. That's BIGFAV504. Y'all check me out. I try to keep interesting content going around, but we have Conquer Sports. We're a consultation firm. So with Conquer Sports, we work with high school kids, college, professional, and we do that as a year-round program. I have an excellent staff that does great things with us, so we definitely appreciate them. And every Monday, man, they can check me out at Small Sliders, ESPN New Orleans, 100.3 FM, right down there in La Rose, Louisiana, baby, Galliano, and all our folks down there representing. We're here at Small Sliders, Marrero, 1635 Barrett Boulevard. People are more than welcome to come out there, have some sliders with us. We try to have guests coming on, high school coaches. The players did come out there and grab some sandwiches with us. We talk NFL, Saints, LSU, the norm, Tulane, and we enjoy ourselves. But last, but certainly not least, man, I dropped my second studio solo album, Love It. It's out, streaming everywhere. We have My Love featuring Cupid. That's out on there, and a couple other hits. And, of course, the Baller Broadcasting is doing well. It's hit single, Hello Somebody. So yeah, man, I appreciate you for letting me plug my ventures in, man. And shoot, I appreciate you for having me on the platform today.
Absolutely, man. One more thing, you had brought his name up earlier, and it kind of brought me back. But I had a few friends that went. They left down here and they went play at John Curtis. But one guy that was there, and he has a really cool story. But you brought up his name, and it just brought it back. So Robbie Green, man, that was a hell of a DB right there, man. That's good to know that he's working with you, man. That's pretty cool. So Big Fave, I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much for coming on, man. You have a good one.
Man, thanks for having me on, Eric. Peace.